Hello and welcome to Vassar Campfire Stories, a podcast where we listen to students talk about their spooky experiences on Vassar College's campus and how that experience changes the land of the living. Thank you for listening. I hope you're ready for yet another Vassar ghost story. I am your host, Haley Bax. I'm excited to be sitting here today with my guest, who is actually going to be remaining anonymous. So I welcome them here and I thank them for being willing to sit with me and tell me their ghost story. And I'm going to invite them to open up and tell their ghost story at their pleasure, if you will please.
All right, thank you for having me. Let me just start from the very beginning. Started in the first week, or like the first couple weeks when we got to campus. I'm currently stationed in Stronghouse, so there wasn't a lot of information on any ghosts that exist here. So I wasn't too worried. However, the basement it just gave a really negative energy when we did our orientation. And a few days after, my roommate had to go do laundry, and she asked me to go with her because she went alone for the first time and she didn't like the feeling, so she wanted me to accompany her. And we were there. She finished picking up her laundry and everything, and we walked down the hallway to the elevator. When we got to the elevator, we pressed the button and we were waiting for it to come down, basically. Then we felt like a chill, and we heard footsteps coming towards us. And in our basement, there's doors that don't really open and no one really knows what's in there, but we heard like one was like turning the knob and about to open, and we heard the footsteps walk past us and then disappear. We were both terrified, of course, but we didn't think much of it. We just went back upstairs. We got into the elevator as quick as possible, and we went back to our room on the third floor. For the next couple of days, certain strange phenomena would occur where sometimes the door would unlock itself or lock itself. I remember this one time my roommate was out of the room, and I was on my computer in bed. I hadn't moved, and she went to open the door and she couldn't, and she was going at it really hard. I turn around and the lock was slightly tilted, as if the door was slightly locked, but neither of us had touched it. It was terrifying because I was alone in the room, and I started to realize that maybe the ghost was trying to lock me in and lock her out. It happened again in September, late September, where I was alone in the room and my roommate went to go to the restroom. She went to come back in, and the door once again was locked. Additionally, her closet door would open, and we would be very confused because she wouldn't touch her closet door, and I did not want to touch her closet, so we made sure to keep that boundary. But we would come back into the room and the door would be slightly open, or I would be in the room not paying attention. I would turn and the door would be opening very slowly. My roommate told me that she had been hearing whispers in the middle of the night, and I didn't really understand why. She asked me if it was me praying. I told her it wasn't. And a few nights ago, on the 30th, I was on the phone with my cousin. I heard a click and the door unlocked itself because I was alone in the room. My roommate was out with some friends, and I decided to lock the door for my own safety. I hear a click and I turn around and the door is unlocked. And now it doesn't shut fully, so that's also occurring. Additionally, there were certain nights I would wake up at like 3 and 4 in the morning, and I would hear tapping or like footsteps on my roommate's side of the room. And I would sit up and there would be nobody there and my roommate would be fully asleep. There was also like metal banging, though I'm pretty sure that was just the radiator. However, once the radiator would stop, we would still hear like taps or like scratches in that side of the room. Might have been mice, but it felt like the footsteps just couldn't be explained. The footsteps that were going around the room. And on the 31st, my roommate woke up to her AirPods falling off her counter, and she went to pick them up and she felt like something grabbed her arm. It was 3 or 4 in the morning as well. I was fast asleep and I found out early in the morning because she asked me if I was awake to hear that. Yeah, that's basically all the phenomena that's going on in Strong.
So you said that your door doesn't close fully. What do you mean by that?
When we first got here, we didn't really have a problem. The door would close completely fine.
Mhm.
But after the events that occurred on the 30th, it takes a little extra shove to close the door.
Ah, I see.
And it would, like I said, sometimes it would lock and unlock on its own. And we checked to see if it was that it was broken, but it's perfectly fine.
Okay, so you almost need like an extra bit of force to fully close it when it would have done it easily prior.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think that it's the same spirit from the basement? Do you think it like followed you to your room?
Part of me thinks it is because since we are on top of like the laundry room where we first felt really uncomfortable, it would
Mhm.
make sense that it followed us up. So yeah.
The lock. So you feel like the ghost is trying to, do you think it's both trying to lock you in and your roommate out, or is it one or the other?
Considering how many occurrences my roommate has had, it's possible that it's going after her and I'm just sitting on the sidelines watching it all occur.
Mm.
So perhaps it was trying to lock her out and just keep me in.
Do you think it's
I feel like it might have like it's very neutral. Like there are certain moments when it feels like it's kind of menacing, but it won't hurt
Mhm.
us. It's just trying to assert its own dominance in a way.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what it's doing.
Did you believe in ghosts before this experience?
I grew up in a Christian home,
Mm.
and we believe in the supernatural. We understand that there are demons and there are angels. The idea of ghosts wasn't very brought up. We didn't believe in that existing. However, we do believe in it being a demon and demons being the ones who are messing around on Earth, and that's the type of ghost that people perceive.
So, how has this experience affected your life at Vassar?
It's made it very interesting. I mean, I was kind of aware that something might have happened considering how old the building is. I'm very intrigued when it comes to like old buildings and old architecture, and I'm very aware of how haunted they are. So coming here, I braced myself for it. I was like, I don't want to see one, but if I do, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And so I haven't really allowed this ghost to ruin anything other than my sleep schedule on some nights. It exists in my common area and I have allowed it to exist.
Have you had any other feelings or experiences around campus, or has it just been Stronghouse?
It's primarily been in Stronghouse. When you're walking outside in the middle of the night, I have had moments when I feel like someone is looking at me and I turn around and no one's there. But it's nothing like too intense, too extreme. It's just normal.
Do you know of anyone else who's had paranormal experiences in Strong?
So I spoke to my student fellow. when it was all occurring, and a few days after, their door began to lock and unlock on its own. They went to go to the restroom and they saw that their door was locked. And it's almost like the ghost is now attacking them.
Interesting. How close do they live to you?
There's a stairway that leads up to the attic between both of our rooms.
Okay. Has this experience maybe made you want to leave strong, or would you stay?
Most certainly not. I haven't really allowed a little ghost to ruin my experience here at Strong. I'm very thankful to have gotten into this storm, and it's gonna have to leave. I'm not going to allow it to control me. It's gonna have to either be complacent and allow me to exist, or it's gonna have to find a way to leave and pass on.
I think that's a good way to look at it. As we're here in, let's say, the land of the living, and then they're kind of in their own world, and there's a point where you have to kind of say, like, this is my world and you need to move on and find your own space.
Exactly.
I want to thank you again for your lovely story. I think it's very interesting. I think the activity that you've experienced is definitely haunting, if we want to use that term. And I don't want to say you've kept me updated, but we are recording this fairly close to the October 30th date that you just had your most recent encounter with it. And I appreciate you kind of sharing the most up-to-date information, which is great because a lot of the stories on this podcast maybe happened several years ago. And so having a still active experience is very interesting to talk about. All right, well, thank you again for being on this podcast. I really appreciate it. Without your stories, I would not be able to do this. Hauntings take many forms and are often different based on who experiences them. Ghosts, angels, demons, energies take many forms and have many names. For my guests today, their space was being intruded upon. Their domain was being challenged. Hauntings make us question our place in the world, how we fit into the past, the future, but especially the present. Ghosts can challenge us. My guests' haunting made them more determined. They will not let go of their space. Their experience has strengthened their connection to Strong and their decision to stay, and that is their space. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good night.